Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike, and you are listening. And if you're on YouTube, you are watching the second episode of the Rock on Wild show. And just to give you a little bit of a recap of the first episode, I've done a topic called What Music Means to Me. And on today's episode, I might as well do movies. So the title of this is going to be called What Movies Mean to Me. Also, we're going to look at this day in music, the horoscope of the day, as well as a reaction to an old movie review I done just over 10 years ago. But first, I am here to announce that today is Christmas Day as I am recording this episode. So, depending on when this airs, it will probably end up being the second Wednesday of January, in which I look on the calendar. That will be January 8th, 2025. So, this recording is on Christmas Day. So, we're going to go over stuff that hasn't happened yet when this airs, if that made any sense at all. All right, so Christmas. How was your all Christmas? I know mine is so far so good. I'm going to see the new Nosferatu 2024 remake in just a few short hours. I've been looking forward to this, and movies. This will be a good segue into this. Movies are one of my few favorite things in life. When I view a movie, when I watch a movie, there are two things that I look for: characters and storytelling. And if I were to rank the two of them, I would say that the characters come first and the story just funnels right into it. And it all depends on what genre of movie I am watching. If I'm watching an action movie, I look for the action. What is the action like? Uh, is the camera choppy? Is the camera smooth? How do directors direct an action scene? Um, the impact of it. Like, say for example, the movie Heat, starring Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, has a great action scene in the middle where it just sounds and feels bombastic. You feel the impact of every gunshot going on in that film, especially towards that action scene. That is fantastic. Uh, The Dark Knight. Now, I know The Dark Knight is more along the lines of what you could say a comic book movie because it deals in characters like the Joker and the Batman and Catwoman. And well, actually, Catwoman came a little bit later, but you get what I mean. And and of course Alfred as well, the Butler's and Heath Ledger's Joker, tremendous. But again, I go back to the action. What is the action like? And the memorable thing when it comes to the action with The Dark Knight is when the director Christopher Nolan actually turned over a truck in the film. That actually happened in the movie. And of course, a horror movie. You know, when I look at horror movies, I look for, is it going to be creepy? Or what are the jump scares like? Are they cheap jump scares? Or are they jump scares that mean something? Um, do horror movies creep you out? Or are they just scary, naturally scary? And when it comes to musicals, musicals I'm not the biggest fan of. But again, it's something you look for, the songs in it, the singing. What's the singing like? And stuff like that. Really, The Wizard of Oz. If you're not The Wizard of Oz, forget about it. Or even A Star is Born, forget about it. There's very, very few musicals that I really go for. Comedies. Comedies are probably the most subjective type of film there is. Does it make you laugh? Are the jokes cringe? And again, it all boils down to the story and the characters. What's the story like? What are the characters like? For me, a great example of a great comedy is a movie called Liar Liar starring Jim Carrey. And to me, this is probably easily one of the best movies that does courtroom scenes. It's probably the most memorable for me when it comes to courtroom scenes. You have the whole thing where Jim Carrey is just going off his head, and it is just hilarious. And you have the supporting cast around him, and everyone just works off Jim Carrey tremendously. Groundhog Day is another good example of a really good comedy, in my opinion. Bill Murray. Now, even though there are probably stories of Bill Murray not being a great person behind the scenes, but he is just so hilarious in this movie. And again, it's the jokes, it's the line delivery, it's everything in between when it comes to comedies. Rom-coms, it's not something I go for, but do the two main characters have chemistry? That's the big thing when I look for romantic comedies. And you could go on and on and on. And I alluded to comic book movies as well. Again, something you go for the characters. And yeah, it's just something that yeah, it's just something. All right. So, when it comes to movies in general, oh, and animation. You can't go wrong with animation. In fact, the very first movie I ever watched was a movie called Aladdin when I was 5 years old. And that movie holds a great influence on me being in love with movies. It's all about the escape when it comes to watching movies in the theater with a crowd. Especially a movie like Avengers Endgame, which I'll probably get into in just a little bit. Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to turn on the camera now for a second, and I'm going to present to you some movies that are important when it comes to movie making. The first movie I want to consider of note here is a movie called Schindler's List. This is a movie I actually don't have. Schindler's List, a very important piece. There's another one I was going to mention. What was it? The Wizard of Oz, again, very important. Back to the Future, probably the greatest time travel movie there is. So I'm going to... Hey! So, first movie I'm going to present here. The oldest movie I have in my collection, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This movie came out 1920. The oldest movie I have in my collection, and it's absolutely fantastic. Great twist in it. And it might be one of the first movies that does a fantastic twist in it. Nosferatu. And I mentioned Nosferatu, the 2024 movie coming out. Well, actually, that is already out. And to me, this is it right here. This is the creme de la creme. Taxi Driver. You talking to me? Need I say more? Like I said, if you know your movies, you know your movies. But these two I'm going to talk a little about further. And these are comic book movies. Now, the first one, to me, this is the first cool Marvel movie. In fact, I actually have the trilogy right here. Wesley Snipes, Blade. And there's ever only going to be one Blade. And to me, the greatest ensemble of a cast in a movie, not just comic book movies, but movies in general, Avengers Endgame. Now, Westerns. Westerns is one I almost just came to me. There was a movie I was watching not too long ago called Tombstone. And this movie has a bunch of names in it. You know, it's got Val Kilmer, Kurt Russell, Billy Zane, you name it, they were in it. Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, and there's even a cameo of a legendary actor, which I'm not going to name. You have to see it for yourself. But yeah, the Magnificent Seven, the remake, I love that because I love Vincent D'Onofrio. I love anything that involves Vincent D'Onofrio. Really, movies, just in general, when I watch them, I feel good afterwards. Even if it's a bad movie, I still feel good because there was a time where I would come on YouTube and just rant about a movie that I don't like. And it's that passion of talking about a movie that really keeps me going. And it was something that I used to do. And I will, at the end of this episode, I will react to one of my old movie reviews, a movie called Noah, starring Russell Crowe. Now that our opening topic is out of the way, let's go on to this day in music. Right now, I am going to start the camera up again, and I'm going to present, share screen, this day in music. All right, so these two things, the first two things that came up, I really wanted to take note of. On this day, on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2024, two things involving George Michael. The first thing here, back in 2016, George Michael died at his home at age 53. Thames Valley Police said South General Ambulance Services intended a property in Goring in Oxfordshire at 1:42 GMT. The singer, who launched his career with Wham in the 1980s and later continued his success as a solo performer, was said to have passed away peacefully at home. Up to the time of his death, Michael sold more than 150 million records worldwide. That's impressive, making him one of the best-selling musical artists of all time. And here in 2019, his sister Melanie died suddenly at the age of 59, died way too young. On the third anniversary of the singer's death, George had left the bulk of his estate to her and her sister when he died at age 53 from heart and fatty liver disease. So rest in peace, George Michael. The guy's a legend. I don't know much in the way that his music. I know a couple of songs that I would usually hear on the radio, but I know George Michael enough to know that he was a name and he was a legend and he was an icon. So George Michael, gone but not forgotten. He is the man. All right. Now let's look at the daily horoscope, and the only horoscope that I wanted to go over here is the one that I'm recording on today. That is Christmas Day, December 25th. This is your daily horoscope for Sagittarius, and it goes along the lines of something like this. December 25th, 2024. There's a call for you to focus on tangible items today. Sagittarius, your emotions may be a bit restricted, but you will find comfort in beautiful, luxurious surroundings. Don't be surprised if people are a bit more critical than usual. What they intend as helpful may come across as hurtful. So watch your words and be careful what you say, because you never know how people are going to react, really. So try to keep a positive spin on things, or you may slip down a negative spiral of self-pity. Discover what the stars have in store for you with Kazaba's Psychic Advisors. So that is your daily horoscope for Sagittarius, December 25th, 2024. Now, on the final segment of the Rock on Wild Show, we are going to react to an old movie review of mine, a movie called Noah, starring Russell Crowe, and let's open up this thing.
Well, I was actually impressed with that.
All right. I think my audio might not be working. Hang on just a second. Yeah, speaker's getting in. Oh, hang on. All right. Here we go. Okay. Let's present, share screen.
Impressed with that.
All right, let's go back to beginning.
Well, I was actually impressed with that.
Oh my god, the camera quality is
There's
abysmal.
one thing I was deeply concerned about going into this movie, watching this movie on the IMAX, and knowing that this movie was going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and the style of the movie itself, this would be totally dragged out, a bore fest, and I'm just going to fall asleep and wake up and hey, there's the action. No, it's not. It's definitely not like that, because this was a well-paced movie. It felt like uh, a movie that was well timed out. It didn't even feel like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It almost felt like it was an hour and 15 minutes because, like I said, it was well paced, it was well timed. The story flowed very well, even though there were a couple of little moments where you kind of questioned where the story's going. But overall, the way that this movie flowed from beginning to end was absolutely really good.
Here's the weird thing. I don't remember much of the story in Noah at all.
And another thing that I thought was really good was the acting in this movie as well.
Russell Crowe.
Noah, as you all know, is based on the the Bible, your religious Bible stuff. A man is chosen by God to undertake the mission of rescue before an apocalyptic flood destroys the world. There's your basic hypnosis there, and I'm just reading that off of IMDb. So with that said, that's pretty much all you need to know. It is a predictable movie as the movie does progress. But like I said, sometimes predictability is really good when it's done right, and they've done it right here.
I'm just going to pause it there. I noticed that I'm kind of sort of struggling just a little bit. Keep in mind, this is only my second movie review that I've done on this channel. So this is why I'm doing reactions to old reviews of mine, because this is just embarrassing.
This movie
The first review on my channel, I didn't mind Need for Speed, but this is just atrocious.
stars Russell Crowe as Noah, and I think that this is his best performance I've ever seen him in a movie.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
This is definitely one of his best movies. He really carried the movie, and the supporting actors as well were actually pretty good, even though I think that some of these supporting cast should have been established, should have stuck out a little bit more, because this was, Russell Crowe's spotlight in the movie. This was centered around him, and that's the only.
Well, to be fair, right? Supporting characters are only there to support the main character. That's what they're there for. They're not there to hog the spotlight from the main star, that is Russell Crowe. So I understand what I'm saying, but again, supporting characters know their place, main characters know their place.
Little issue I had, but overall, everyone in this movie were really good. Their performances were up to par with Russell Crowe, even though we never saw the
I want to point something out. It's something I didn't mention in my first topic about what movies mean to me. Performances, actors performing in the movie. If an actor is great in a role, the movie's going to be elevated by a lot. A great example, Daniel Day-Lewis. He's one fantastic actor. One of the movies that I watched on my vacation in Toronto, it was a movie called There Will Be Blood. Haven't watched it before, but Daniel Day-Lewis is absolutely stellar in that movie, and that really elevated that movie. But let's get back to Noah.
showcased, the way they should have showcased them. So overall, like I said, this movie had really good acting throughout. You had Jennifer Connelly, Anthony Hopkins, Ray Winstone was a really good villain. I thought I was interested to see who was going to play the villain, and I was actually surprised how this movie was going to make a villain. He was, as you can see, the eighth generation descendant to Cain, from the brothers Cain, Abel, and Seth, and as well, and Noah was portrayed as the eighth generation of Seth, and I like how they told the story. It was very clear, when it comes to the whole idea of God creating the earth and the animals, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They explained all that pretty well. It kept it really simple, and I thought it was a really enjoyable story as well. It was like I said, there were a couple of moments where I'm thinking, okay, where is this movie going to go? We know, I'm not going to spoil anything for you if you never saw the movie, but there was a point where this person goes into the ark, and I know he's been there for like 9 months, and I'm like, okay, when is he going to pop up? So things like that, I kept in the back of my head to make sure that there's no plot holes as well. So, and there were none. I didn't actually spot any plot holes while I was watching this movie at all. So it kept it really good. It kept it really simple. It didn't overcomplicate anything. And
there's a good lesson that I've learned from one of my favorite YouTubers. It's the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
I really liked Emma Watson as well.
I forgot she was
in this, and she was, to me, the one supporting role actor in this movie that I felt like she was actually showcasing some drama. Even Logan Lerman as well as Ham. He had some drama moments as well, and I love how they use a lot of ideas and elements and themes throughout the entire movie. The whole the son turning on Noah. You had, the evil guy influencing the son and stuff like that. So everything I thought was well done. It was just a well done movie, beyond question. And another one thing I really did like as well was the cinematography. It was very incredible to watch on screen, even though there
Cinematography is
were a
amazing.
couple of moments where it didn't look believable at all. Uh, there were more believable special effects. For example, the rain falling down, that was really great. But the moment where where you saw the two birds flying over and you had that soaring kind of roller coaster feel as the cinematography
Love
was
that ride.
gliding throughout the entire land, and you had the two birds flying, that could have been cleaned up a bit. But overall, like I said, the special effects were absolutely incredible. I was almost going to say this was a visual masterpiece, but no, not really, because like I said, there were a couple of moments where, you just step back and say,
No,
you know what, that could have been a lot better. But like I said, this movie, they carried its own. It done a really good job with the cinematography and the camera work. Even though there's a little shaky cam going on, another nitpicky issue. Like I said, it was
yeah,
still going really well. Everything was well. The acting, the action, the drama. Yeah, you know what? You could have had a couple of little more drama moments, but it is what it is. And the way it ended as well was absolutely great. I'm not going to spoil anything. Just go ahead and watch it. And if I were to rate this movie out of 100, I would probably give it around a high 70s and low 80s. So, with that being said, this movie delivered 81 points out of 100.
81 points. Cool. Stop sharing. And that was my reaction to my old movie review for Noah. A Yeah, from what I was talking about there about that movie, pretty good. I gotta say, it was pretty good. I'm gonna stop the camera for a second, and we're about 27 minutes in, and that is where the second episode of the Rock Out Wild show ends. Thank you all for tuning in to the second episode of the Rock Out Wild show. I am your host, just Mike, and on a final note to all of you watching, get plenty of rest and always do your best.